Hey everyone, Nicole here with a video walkthrough of the Underdog Tools browser extension offered by Rotogrinders.com. If you don't have this extension installed, it's pretty simple. You can get a direct link, or you can go to the Chrome Web Store, the Microsoft Edge Web Store, or the Mozilla Firefox Web Store, and search for Rotogrinders and download the Underdog Tools extension. Once you've added it, it's browser specific. You go on to Underdog Fantasy, and there will be an extension option with the RG logo. We'll have this little logo. You can click on that, and you need to sign in with your RG credentials. Once you've done that, you'll get a notification saying that you've successfully signed in. Premium members will have additional content on Underdog now when they enter a contest. Those live under the Pick'em tab. So when you go to Pick'em now, just make sure you refresh the page and it picks up the sign-in credentials. You're going to start to see Rotogrinders projections. This is very handy for player props. We've got interceptions, completions, the rush yards, everything you could want here for NFL, NBA, and MLB so far. So you'll see these projections, and then you can start comparing the difference with the Rotogrinders projections and the actual prop line offered by Underdog and decide which over and under picks you want to start making. Right, so this one's really close. This one is an over for us, those kind of things based on what we're seeing on the RG projections and the props offered. You can go by sport, or you can go to see all of them at the same time. So here's just NFL, just NBA, and this works on the over-under tab and also on the rivals tab. So under rivals, you're comparing two guys in a certain stat category with each other. So anywhere with the orange markings, you've got Rotogrinders projections active for them, and you're comparing that with each player. We hope this will make it much easier and quicker for you to go take our projections, compare them to the site's offerings, and then make informed decisions on what contest to enter and who to play. Until next time, this has been Nicole Valencia for Rotogrinders.com.
Up, Rotogrinders? Dean here. Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical on me, it's actually 5:15, a few minutes late here. It's a 3-game slate. Chill, relax. 5:15 on the East Coast. It's 2:15 West Coast, 4:15 Tennessee time. So of course that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, stepping in, a late call, Justin Carlucci. What's up? What's up, Luch?
What's up?
We lost the game. Yeah, we lost Denver. We lost Golden State. It's interesting because I was going to have a couple lineups because I thought there was like a non-zero chance that game was going to get canceled. They had a bunch of dudes that are questionable. And it was like, that's the only game. It's like 2.5 hours, after there's a 7 o'clock block with 3 games. And that was like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be slick. And I'm going to make lineups like excluding players in that game, just in case the non-zero chance. And then it already hit. So much for my edge. How are things in your world?
Things are good. I'm the Luch, no numbers behind my handle, but maybe I should get some numbers. Maybe I should be like Luch, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something, and like, play off the Dean handle.
Oh, I wouldn't encourage it. This is not something I did not create that for like good marketing or whatever. It's just, that was my college email. And that's just what I didn't think that like this is going to be a thing. If I could take it all back, man, I would be Gray's Sports Almanac. That's my bit. That's my shtick. A little Biff Tannen action or something like that. You're aware of Gray Sports Almanac, I assume? Yes, maybe, yeah. Possibly. Yeah, that's my Twitter handle too, sort of. But yeah, that's Dean 7904. Like, that's not, oh wow, I gotta follow that guy. Well, you have a good last name, like you're the Luch. That sounds official.
It's hard to spell over the phone sometimes, like a lot. It's kind of annoying, It's like if my last name was Dean, I like you don't have to like enunciate when you say my name's Dean, right? D as in dog, E as in Eagles, right? Like spelling Carlucci to some people is just a nightmare, but we'll take it in stride. I got to say about the Denver game, I was really looking forward to taking some Jokic props tonight. And, for the next Denver game, if you guys want to get a head start, toggle some of these guys off the court and just look at how ridiculous Jokic really is. I mean, Aaron Gordon and Monte Morris are pretty critical and some stuff I was looking at, but what a season the guy is having. I kind of wanted to see him take on the entire Golden State team tonight and just see what he had, but unfortunately we're not going to get that. So COVID's everywhere, man. I mean, Mike Malone had it, the coach had it. That might have been like the final straw, but they had 7 active players and like 4 guys questionable, right? So one of those guys was going to have to be in. So I guess that's also maybe telling me that it was Austin Rivers, it was Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon, and someone else. Yeah, I guess they are really banged
was supposed
up.
to come back, but I guess he wasn't enough. I started doing the math earlier, and then and I started trying to figure out like who else. I guess trying to figure out the next best plays behind Jokic, but then all that work is just kind of just thrown out. What are you gonna do? And the same scenario happened a couple of days ago where Denver beat Golden State when it was essentially just Jokic. Would have been an interesting rematch. We have another rematch in this game as well. We have this slate Milwaukee. It's weird. You rarely see this. We'll talk about the 3-game slate in a second. What up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. And we always try to tell y'all, look, currently we don't have chat right now on the YouTube. Join our Rotogrinders Discord channel. If you join the Discord channel, doesn't cost you anything. It is free. There are premium channels. This is a free channel. Rotogrinders.com/Discord. And you go to the channel that says live stream chat. Devin's in there, producer Devin. He's going to join the show later on. And we're like, hey, we got to get some people we're going to bring some people over there. Let's give away some RG premium. So we're going to pick somebody randomly asks a question, randomly asks a comment, something of the sort. Somebody that partakes in the conversation as far as the show. Later on in the show, we'll give away at least one. We'll say at least 1 week of RG premium. If you have RG premium already, we'll give you scores and odds premium for a week. We'll figure it out. If you have that, we'll send you an RG t-shirt. We'll figure something out. We'll hook you all up with some sort of swag. All right. So go ahead and jump over there. Again, it's rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. Again, there's some premium channels, some free channels. That happens to be a free channel. Join the conversation. We'll have plenty of time. It's a good night just to ask like general strategy. Like, how do you handle X, Y? Not even specific to the slate, daily fantasy. It's all about today and today only, but hey, we have time for sure to dig into those general tournament strategies, single entry stuff, large field stuff. I mean, whatever you want to talk about, Luch, I'm game. It's a 3-gamer. We're gonna do our best to fill the time. we did come on 5 minutes late, so there you go. Now we only have to be on for 55 minutes or so. Is it getting increasingly darker in your room? What is going on over there?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think the lights changed at all.
I feel like the lights are like turning out on you slowly. You still have power? You're still with me?
Yeah, as of right now. I mean, we do lose power a lot here because I live in the middle of nowhere, but all right. We're good. We're good so far, but this is arguably, oh man, good Lord. Bradley Beal's available now. Dean, we got some breaking news.
Yeah, he got vaccinated, and I guess that pushed because earlier in the year he was saying how he wasn't for his reasons, and now that happened, and I guess that maybe expedited this to happen. I'm not really sure. I know there's different restrictions or different, if you're vaccinated, if you're not. Yeah. Football, obviously that's a thing as well too. But yeah, I figured that might be a way. It might be a path for him to go. But yeah, because Dinwiddie is out too. So it's the cheat code is always like, well, Beal is out. Unleash Dinwiddie. We saw it last time out. We've seen it pretty much every single time this season. Dinwiddie is in the health and protocol situations. I guess we can start with that game if you want to start with that game. Do you want to start with what? No, let's go last because actually I'm trying to see if our projection team all 3 games are at 7:00. So let's just have that conversation as far as breaking it down game by game. We'll do that in a second. But let's have that conversation. There's no late swap tonight. Yeah. you can't late swap. It's a sprint slate, which is kind of cool. Like it's
like a turbo.
That's one fun thing about this. I suppose you'll know how much money you lost or won in like 2.5 hours. There you go. And there's no like PMR. It's basically all the same. Everybody's got the same PMR essentially. But strategy wise, how does that change things for you? If anything.
It doesn't. I mean, it makes things just easier. Honestly, it's like playing a main slate of football for the most part, or like an early only. The last 3 weeks have just been so bizarre that I've been dialing back my volume and betting more. And I know you plugged Scores and Odds and good stuff over there. I mean, it is typically difficult on a larger slate because there's value everywhere. There's, 15 guys projected 6x value or more with a 55% or greater smash percentage on our HQ. So is generally pretty difficult. And like tonight, you get to cram in how many min price guys on the Magic who are 14-point dogs. It's kind of nuts. So I don't know. I don't really think it changes a lot. If anything, you can just shut your brain off after lock and kind of.
You can exhale at 7:01. I think that's my thought. You can exhale at 7:01 and you can actually just relax and just not. You can turn your notifications off on your phone. You can go to dinner if that's something you want to do. You can speak to your significant other. You can just relax.
Oh man!
And then you can start tilting when your player starts doing nothing at 7:10. It's right. What's Pritchard doing? He's doing terrible. Oh, great. Can I late swap to the guy in OKC? Oh wait, all my guard spots are taken. Never mind.
Were you a Pritchard casualty yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I could be a chalk donkey sometimes, and I had some lineups that cashed with him because he was so heavily owned. But the biggest issue was I can't remember the guy's what's the guy's name? Ty Jerome? Is that his name for OKC? And I'm let's pivot to him. He's gonna run the point and have a great time. And unfortunately, all my guard spots and basically all my utility spots essentially were filled. And I found one lineup where I can squeeze him in. I'm oh, and I couldn't. They wouldn't let me. I tried to swap out Pritchard for Jerome, but they said Pritchard, his game was in the third quarter, so it was too late. I tried though.
Can we, before we give real analysis, can we just admire some of the names that are back in some form of professional basketball we are seeing?
Maury Chalmers just signed with the Heat. He's back.
Chalmers, good Lord. Yeah. How about Kenneth Reid getting a Gatorade deal with the Nuggets? Did you see that yesterday?
Kenneth Reid?
Got a G League deal. Yes, a little
reuniting. I love Reid, the manimal.
Yeah, he gotta call him up. Yeah, he's got to be.
I wonder what are these Chalmers and Fareed? I know Greg Monroe. He was playing basketball over in Russia and Germany. But is Chalmers just hanging out at the crib, just chilling? Is he playing ball with his friends at the Y?
I swear,
are these guys still playing somewhere?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I really don't know. I mean, these guys are obviously staying in some kind of shape.
I assume.
I mean, it's pretty impressive that, if they're really staying this ready. I mean, Kenneth Reid is a name I thought I'd never see on the brink of playing NBA ball again. He was awesome too, but that, when I think of the Denver Nuggets of the 2000s, not only do I think of Fareed, I think of the Birdman for one. So it's
oh man,
is he next? Who's next? Can we get
I don't know. Another former Miami Heat champion, Birdman, Mario Chalmers, former champion. Yeah. Too bad Chalmers can't have LeBron to yell at him all day. That's all. Mario Chalmers be famously just LeBron yelling at him on the court the whole time, basically. I don't know. Ask the chat. Maybe the chat will let us know who's next. Who's the most random guy? Isaiah Thomas is back in our lives, and Stauskas Theo, Nick Stauskas signed by Miami as well.
Unreal.
Good for him.
If someone could guess correctly, I'm not okay. I don't have a ton of pull here, but we should give something away. If you can directly name the next person that we haven't heard of in 5 years that signs a deal, we should give away something, because my gut says maybe it's J.R. Smith, right? But that seems too obvious, right?
He's in college right now.
He graduated. He said he got a 4.
Oh, did he graduate? I saw he got a 4.0 in a semester. Good for him.
Maybe
that's awesome.
He
didn't have to do that. That's awesome. He did that. Cool. He's whatever he does with that. That's awesome. That's just cool. He felt that was something that was worth doing. He's made billions, but he's still, let's go ahead and get a. It's good. And yeah, like you said, 4.0. And he was tweeting about it all the time. I'm sure you saw it. So yeah, for real, good for him.
The good thing is, if we do get Outlaw Tour Golf again, I know he'll be playing. So I can't wait to roster some J.R. Smith and Outlaw Tour Golf if we get there.
Is that a different J.R. Smith? I didn't play the Outlaw. Wait, for real, the basketball player plays the golf Outlaw? Golf?
Oh, he golfed while he was in college. Well, he went back to school. He was on the golf team.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
I don't follow golf, so I don't know.
Come on, D92704. Yeah, get on the J.R. Smith grind here.
I can only specialize in so many. Could just anybody play Outlaw? Is that the deal? I mean, just kind of say, well, I'm entering the tournament.
This is probably more of a no-do in cards question, but I do believe for most of their tournaments, it's just there's an X amount of entry if you just kind of show up. So I often thought about, wow, if I fly to Arizona and just pay, you guys could play me on DraftKings if you want to lose. I mean, of course, but it would be cool to see.
I had this conversation with Grant. We talked about the idea of raising money, just to put Grant's name in the player pool. How much would he be in the DK player pool for Outlaw Golf if that was a thing? Hopefully that doesn't happen, right? Because real PGA starts in January, I believe.
We're kicking back off soon, so it should be exciting.
All right.
Anyway, let's get to it. That was fun.
Let's dive in. We talked enough nonsense. Let enough people sprinkle on in. Again, what up, YouTube? Hit that like button, do subscribe, and turn on those notifications when we missed it. If you're just joining us now and you missed what we talked about before, we are going to give away 1 month free of RG Premium. Was it month or a week? I don't recall now. Now, Devin will make sure he'll clarify. At least a week, possibly a month. We'll see. I think it's a week. Let's do it a week. If you join the Discord channel, just say hello, say what's up, ask a question. We'll definitely tackle that question later on the show. And that channel is, of course, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Live stream, chat channel. There's already some action there. What up, y'all? I see some questions piling in. We will knock them out later on in the show. All right, 3-game slate. First game that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about the Magic. The Magic are at home to the Bucks. 218 is the total. The Magic, of course, are 15-point dogs here. They are without a lot of bodies. We know Cole Anthony is still out. Okiki's still out. Grevet was pulled off the court last game, mid-game, for COVID issues. Rolo is still out. Robin Lopez, that is. No Suggs, no Moore. I probably missed somebody. As far as the Milwaukee side, they're fully healthy, with the exception of Brook Lopez, we haven't seen since like the first week of the season. And Semi Ojeleye is also out too. And also, you know what's weird? Milwaukee's been in Orlando, I presume, since they played Tuesday night. They've been hanging out. They went to Disney. The Lopez brothers love themselves some Disney. I'm not sure if Brooke is traveling with them, but those guys love. I feel like that's the reason why Robin signed with Orlando. I'm pretty sure he's obsessed with like Marvel, and he's big in the comics. It's a whole thing. All right, so yeah, Milwaukee's been chilling in Orlando for a couple days. Let's start with the. We'll talk Orlando in a second. Milwaukee. It's weird because, before everything went down as far as the Denver game and the, Golden State and the key pieces, the big spends, there wasn't a lot appealing in the Milwaukee side. Guys are basically overpriced, but like you're going to overspend on some things today just because you have the salary and raw points matter. I was looking at basically Giannis and Giannis only, just kind of shopping around. Now, without the Denver Golden State game, maybe that shuffles somewhat. Of course, in tournaments, you can overspend and because why not? And you want to be different. You're not just going to plug in the optimal lineup. That's not the way to go. So talking about the Bucks, how much are you prioritizing Giannis as a big spend?
Oh my God. This could be top 5 worst slates of the year. And we're not even into January yet. And it's
show me some enthusiasm. Get excited about the slate.
That was enthusiasm, Dean.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know if prioritizing is the right word. Maybe more so on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I'm more inclined to look at Embiid. I wasn't as interested in Durant as I am now, because quite frankly, I was probably gonna play as many Jokic lineups as I could.
Yeah, me too.
So
yeah, I feel like everybody would have done that.
Yeah, fascinating game because obviously they're 14-point dogs, but the lack of bodies here, and now it looks like, according to the lineup that we have, RJ Hampton is coming off the pine, so that's a talking point. Looks like Tim Frazier.
We're not projecting him to start.
No, I don't believe so.
Are you sure?
No,
I feel like
I'm not.
We're projecting Tim Frazier. Is that officially Tim Frazier going to be drawn the start?
The Tim Frazier, yeah,
of the 76ers, right? Isn't that where he got his biggest run? I feel like in my brain that's where.
About the
once played him for DFS.
Orlando lineup did come out. Yeah, Hampton is not starting, which correct. I assumed he was, but
right.
Yeah, so, he's still like a really good play though. Like he didn't start last game and he did close. Of course, the guy that started in front of him was yanked in the middle of the game. He came, he came up for COVID reasons, but still, like Hampton. I think Hampton is like going to be the 6-man / like probably a few minutes fall back, and now Frazier becomes kind of sort of someone interesting. But I still like Hampton. I hope that scares people away, to be honest.
I agree. I like both. And like the problem is these guys are so cheap and there's so much volatility and unknown that multiples, like 2 to 3 to, I don't even know, probably not 4, but these guys can coexist because they're so cheap. And I mean, for example, we're going to talk about the Wagner brothers, and Franz obviously went off last game, but he checked back in with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter in that game, and Milwaukee was up by 17 and he played the entire fourth quarter. So
sure,
they just don't have bodies. So I'm not as concerned about the blowout. I mean, you have some of these 10-day contract guys. Tim Frazier and Gillespie are starting. They'll probably get some more burn than anyone else other than Hampton that comes off the bench. But they're so cheap and they don't have anybody. So I knew blowout concerns would probably raise an eyebrow or two, but like, yeah, they might lose by 20, but they're many of their guys are going to play 25 to 35 minutes probably.
Okay, so Orlando, we have 9 guys projected to grab some minutes. The minutes will be congested for, you mentioned the Wagner brothers. Franz is going to grab 30 minutes. That's our projection. Mo off the bench. No, Mo's going to draw a start. Yeah, Mo is off the bench. This will probably change because we have 24 for Frazier and 34 for Hampton. I imagine Hampton's going to go down a little bit and Frazier's going to go up a little bit just because Frazier's starting and Hampton's not. I still think Hampton is both essentially blowout proof, and I think he closes if the game is close. So like he's a guy that he can actually create his own shot. Like it's something he's capable of doing that not a lot of these Orlando guys are. He's not great at it necessarily, but he's capable of creating his own shot and he's willing to do it. I think Franz Wagner might be like legit, like good at basketball. Obviously he's a rookie, but like he's been really, really solid stepping up. The price has been pumped up, but I think it's justified. Gary Harris, who I always talk poorly about. I'm sure he's a great fellow, but DFS perspective, he had that Achilles and he has not been the same since Denver. Denver, he was rough. In Orlando, when all the pieces are around, his usage completely falls back. Now he's had to do a few more things. Wendell Carter, he's obviously good with the prices adjusted as well too. But as far as the cheapies on the Orlando side, Mo Wagner, we're looking at 26 minutes, good fantasy point minute player, 3.2K on DK, Frazier 3.1 on DK. Like this is one of the places we're getting our value. I did run just for funsies. I ran 100 optimals. Our projections are going to change a little bit just for the sake of the conversation. Let's have that conversation. On the Orlando side, I ran 100 optimals on DK and I capped it at 70%, no more than 70%, right? Just to get a different shuffle. 70% for Hampton, he's at the cap. Mo Wagner at the cap. Gary Harris, 57%. Carter at 43%. Freddie Gillespie is a person who's in 17%. Other Orlando guys. Tim Frazier, 8%. That's going to change. Again, we're going to project him for more than 24 minutes now that he's starting. I don't know what the number is going to be, maybe 28 or something like that. That might eke him up there. And as far as Giannis, which I think is an important piece as far as a slate, only 26% of optimals on DK out of 100 going to run those. And on FanDuel, Giannis is in 45. So he is clearly a decision point in the slate. And then we'll talk about Harden in a second. And Durant, we're expecting coming back. Durant hasn't played in 2 weeks. I'm curious what we're going to get as far as his minutes. I don't know if we can fully project his minutes, and the price is full, but is the minutes they're all gonna be there? Not really certain. Of course, Harden falls back a little bit with Durant even being there for 25 or 30 minutes. So let's talk about Orlando as far as the cheapies. Are we gonna do the Wagner brothers stack? We're just stacking all the Wagners?
Sure. Yeah, you totally can, and they'll probably both find their way into some of my builds. I'm not playing a ton of lineups, but I'm certain that I'll have both of them somewhere paired together. I think, when you have half a dozen guys in the same team that are going to get minutes and that are pretty cheap, you just got to play the ceiling guys. And Tim Frazier, when he's had his cracks at this last, we're talking 3 to 5 years ago, he had some ceiling games, was never.
He's had moments.
He's had moments. He's not a scorer, but the assists are typically there. He'll get a couple of rebounds. He's a scrappy player. One thing he does have going for him is Milwaukee does play at a fast pace. So there is an opportunity, for some garbage points. But on a site like FanDuel, where you're typically looking for raw points, I just, I don't know where, I prefer to go with the guard who scores and pay a little bit more in Hampton, whose ceiling is, in my opinion, clearly higher than Tim Frazier. So like gun to head, if we're going to get into Hampton or Frazier, my guess is Hampton. You can these guys can coexist. Like there's so much less correlation. Like build rules are kind of out the window, honestly. Like typically in a normal slate, it's like, well, if Hampton's backing up Frazier or vice versa, 2 guys, same positions, like we don't want to play both of them, but they're both almost min price. So some funky stuff is going to win. You said Mo Wagner. I think he's fine. Great. We know his ceiling, point per minute guy. He'll get some minutes, but I love Franz Wagner and I agree. I think he is good at basketball. I bet his over props on scores and odds, by the way. I don't know if we're allowed to do a spoiler, but I did. Scores and odds is great. Sometimes Dean drops some picks in there too. You had the good old Barbara Walters cat call a couple of weeks ago, which
didn't quite get there. But we beat the regular number, but we didn't get like, the extra,
right.
like I think I bet him like minus 16.5 or something like that. No, not minus 16.5 rebounds. And he was like 1 or 2 short, but we hit the regular line, which was good enough. Just like, who did we get the other day? Karis LeVert. Not yesterday, but like last week or so, we were big on him and we almost got there with some of the, the extreme lines, but definitely paid off for sure. And like yourself, myself, Noto, Cards, all different sports, Grant, Andre, lots of different people are participating as far as giving their selections. I wanted to do like a court IQ, a search as far as kicking certain guys off and see how that changes things. But Orlando, it's just a mess. Like what am I going to
data?
do?
Yeah, there's
you're
really
not going to get anything.
And that's
so just like the general. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you nailed it. That's not the problem, but like I wouldn't want to have Jamino's job the last 2 weeks, right? Like kudos to all these projection teams across the industry. And of course, I'm partial to ours, but like there's going to be volatility. You can leave money on the table and play the. I just made a case for Hampton over Frazier, but there's variance. Eat 800 and play Frazier over Hampton. Like there's going to be weird stuff happening where there's so many unknowns, and there, like you said, there's no data with these lineups playing together, and guys are getting picked up off the street and getting signed to 10-day contracts. We're talking about Mario Chalmers, Kenneth Reid. So anything really goes right now. So honestly, this is like, I don't even want to talk about cash games. Please don't ask me cash game questions today, guys.
I'm not playing either tonight. Yeah.
Use your imagination and don't be afraid to kind of get even more outside the box.
So Gillespie on the season, low usage, 12%, but at 0.92. And again, the samples are small, 0.92 fantasy points per minute on DK. Frazier, 18% usage, but like, the fantasy points per minute have been bad, like 0.54. That's pretty horrendous. But also, the sample size isn't huge. He hasn't been efficient. Just things like that. Gary Harris, not a great fantasy point minute player, but he's out there for 35 minutes. He'll get there. He's 0.65. That's bad. But if you're playing 35 minutes, you just kind of eke your way. It takes some time. You'll slowly get there, and you'll get your 24, 25, 26 fantasy points by the time the game is ending. We talk about Franz Wagner being a 0.89 fantasy point minute guy. His brother has been better fantasy point minute guy. Of course, he's not playing nearly as many minutes, but he's at 0.98. Of course, the best fantasy point minute guy right now on Orlando is Wendell Carter at 1.13. The tricky thing about Milwaukee, so you know how these salaries go. When Giannis was out, when Middleton was out, when all the major pieces were out, when Portis was out, and Cousins was doing his thing, and Holiday was doing his thing, the prices get elevated after 2 or 3 or 4 really good games. Now that Giannis is back, Holiday is the same price, but he was, a reaction of him going off in the absence of Giannis. Now Giannis is back, meaning Drew Holiday is overpriced. Long story short, like 9.5K on FanDuel, 8.9K on DK. Those are bad prices. Am I saying he cannot land in the optimal lineup tonight? No, of course that's not what I'm saying. Is it likely? No, but everybody else knows that too. And he certainly can go 28, 10, and 7. That's something he could do, or maybe 47 raw points is good enough. And that's kind of the case with a lot of these Milwaukee guys. Like Bobby Portis is 7.5 on DK, 7.4 on FanDuel. There's no math that says that is a good play outside of it's a 3-game slate and goofiness and variance and wacky things happen. And of course, Bobby Portis is happy to shoot the ball. And maybe he's the guy that gets elevated. And the matchup is fine here against Orlando. So that's where you got to kind of trick your brain. And no optimizer is going to plug those guys in. It's kind of the point I'm making, unless you force them in. And you probably should. If you're running 150. If you're playing 4 lineups, probably shouldn't play them. I mean, I understand why you would. Not here to discourage it. What are your thoughts as far as that? Because that's kind of my push-pull with the Bucks outside of Giannis.
You're right. Would I comfortably play any of those guys outside of Giannis in a single entry? No, probably not. If you're low dollar multi-entering, yeah, because like you said, the good old brain trick, you can still have these outlier games when everybody is still healthy. Sure. Bobby Portis gets 3 blocks and 3 steals and he's on his way, right? He's a point per minute guy as it is. You said he's happy to shoot the ball, and he definitely is. And if I'm gonna overpay for anybody on the Bucks outside of Giannis, it is probably Portis, just because of his ability to rebound inside. In addition to the kind of high usage guy he typically is. Giannis, we know, is typically forever safe, right? Ironically, he did have kind of a floor game the other night. Trying to pull up how many minutes. Played 29 minutes. Okay, so for 99.9% of NBA players, 46 DraftKings points in 29 minutes is an exceptional game. But for Giannis, it's just subpar, right? Can Orlando keep this thing to 15? Like that's the $1 million question, Dean. Can we see this thing 15 or less going into the fourth quarter? I think you need one of the Wagners shooting a minute to make that happen.
The other thing is, like, that's just what Milwaukee does. Like, they don't care about this game tonight in Orlando. You watch the way they suppress his minutes, even in the first half. Like, he played up until 43 seconds left in the game. So it wasn't like he wasn't playing because it was a blowout. It was kind of sort of a blowout if you're watching that game. But he played most of the fourth quarter on and off. But they give him these built-in breathers, like a huge the fourth quarter, he was on the court for the first 5 minutes, then he sat all the way until the last minute 28. It's just always weird what they do. I understand why they're doing it, because it does, who cares? Like, doesn't matter. It's game in Orlando. Yeah. It's game 40 out of 82. You're playing, you're going to probably beat the Magic anyway. You care about the finals, and that's that. But that's just what they're going to do. And like, yeah, it's hard to project them for more than 30 minutes. But 30 minutes of Giannis, yeah.
They're so good at disguising the load management. He won't miss a ton of games unless he's actually hurt, but they'll, run him in 3.5 minute stints. And it's, like you said, it's not a new thing. Like, unless it's a big division game or a conference game. Man, I just remember like a couple weeks ago, there's a host of his teammates were out, and it didn't matter. It was a vanilla game, and they threw him out there in like 3.5 minute bursts, and I was really pissed off. But I knew what I was signing up for, and you got to play the upside, and he is safe.
They're playing 11 guys now. Like, they're playing 11 guys, and they got Thanasis every once. Well, actually, Thanasis was the 11th guy. I guess they're playing 10 until they threw Thanasis in for the last minute or so. But like they got back DiVincenzo. They want to see if they have with him. Like, I think he's a pretty solid player and like pretty respectable. Just this roster is so good. And Cousins, they just sort of found, and like he's one of these guys that got a 10-day contract that looks like he's going to stick. And then we'll see what happens when Lopez comes back. And they're just stacked. They have a lot of good players in this team. There's a reason why they're a title contender. But go ahead. You were saying that's why there's so many minutes to delegate. Like, they're going to throw 15 or so to Wesley Matthews just because Grayson Allen has taken a step forward. He was great beginning of the year when they were leaning on him. Just a deadly 3-point shooter, hell of a tripper too. At least he was in college. That was my understanding. I cut you off, but you were saying here about Milwaukee. But it's Giannis and there's everybody else, and none of the other ones make sense from math perspective. But it doesn't mean you can't necessarily play them. Just matters how ambitious you want to be. When you mentioned Middleton, like, Middleton's fine, but again, nothing sexy about it. It's okay. And if he puts up 40, maybe 40 is good enough. Maybe that's fine, depending on what everybody else does.
Yeah, he's been underwhelming this season from a fantasy perspective. And, DeMarcus Cousins has kind of mucked the waters even more, for lack of a better term, because he still posting usage rates in the 20s. Like, he's not going to change who he is. So he was directly spelling, when they first signed him, he was directly spelling Bobby Portis to give him breathers while Brook Lopez is out. And that was, those 4 to 7 minutes to 8 minutes he was stealing from Bobby Portis, and then all of a sudden Boogie's playing a dozen minutes, and those minutes matter, especially with a guy like Bobby Portis whose price tag is up. But typically when you take Bobby Portis off the court, you put in, who else do they have? The guy with the long last name I can't pronounce, or you put in Nwora, or you put in one of these lower usage guys. Well, now you yank Bobby Portis off the court, you're putting Cousins, who's a usage monster, just like that, to replace him. And it kind of complicates things even more. Like, whenever Portis would vacate the court, it's like, all right, uptick in shots and usage for Drew and Middleton and the rest of the crew. So you add in DeMarcus Cousins, and you mentioned you add in DiVincenzo, who handles the ball and does a host of things for Milwaukee. And
Hill is still there.
And Georgia, I mean, they are deep. You can probably split that team up and they'd be an 8 seed in either conference. I mean, it's just insane what they have.
They would crush the Magic tonight.
They would. They would.
Mama Kelishvili was the guy you're trying to think of.
God bless you, Dean.
So let's run this down. As far as Orlando are prioritizing, as far as the cheapies on the Orlando side, are just the Orlando pieces, it's just how DFS works sometimes. They're the more interesting side in this game. I think that's pretty clear. I think we explained why. I think we laid that out pretty obvious there. Not nearly the depth is lacking. The prices, there's a bunch of cheap guys. Yeah. So as far as the cheapies that catch your eye the most, Hampton, Frazier, Mo Wagner, Gillespie, and all those guys can be interesting. Do we have Gillespie starting? Was he in the starting lineup as well? Did I miss that? Yeah, he's starting, and he's been a good fantasy point minute player, despite the fact low usage. So
Right.
he's getting there in other ways. He's 3-1 also. Man, look how cheap the starting lineup is. Gillespie 3-1, Frazier 3-1, Hampton's 3-9 off the bench, Mo Wagner 3-2 off the bench. Like, how much magic is too much magic? Because it's just stars and scrubs. The scrubs of the magic, and get yourself some stars.
Do you believe in magic?
Not like Britt Devine does, as much as he loves Disney World. Isn't that a Disney World tagline? I thought it is. But yeah, it's I'm gonna have some, whether I like it or not. I will have my fair bit of Orlando Magic tonight, just because that's how this isn't baseball, where it's like there's a dominant pitcher versus a terrible lineup, and they're gonna get shut out. Like, Orlando's gonna put up like 95 points. They might even put like 105. They're gonna score fantasy points, and these dudes are all cheap, with the exception of one of the Wagners and, of course, Carter. So tell me how you're prioritizing Orlando.
Yeah, I still like Hampton. I'd be lying if I didn't have the slightest bit of anxiety, with COVID and everything going on, that he wasn't starting. But he came off the bench previously, like you said, and that kind of makes him unique, because maybe he's blowout proof, and maybe he closes because he's one of the alpha ball handlers on this team, with the way things are right now. So I'm still fine with Hampton. I like both the Wagners. Wendell Carter, I don't know. I mean, maybe I have just a poor recency bias when he burns me, but
he's a good fantasy appointment guy. I think there's maybe some fear if like they get blown out. Like, he's one of the first guys probably gets pulled off, I assume.
They're interesting. Him and Franz are interesting because, like, no one's going to pay up for the match. I mean, they're weird price points with the way you can build stars and scrubs. I think Franz is, we haven't projected sub 20%. I mean, he played in a fairly lopsided game in the fourth quarter all the way. He posted a 28% usage against Milwaukee 2 days ago. He's done that 5 times this season, and the numbers are good. When he posts at least a 28% usage, he scores 43.6 DK points and 26 real points. Now, I mean, it's very small sample size there, but typically usage goes hand in hand with fantasy point production. He did have one clunker recently where there was a lot of guys out. He just shot the ball poorly. I think it was against Brooklyn with that G League game they had when Harden and Durant were out like a week ago. But he filled it up with peripherals. So I feel like even when the guy's having an off night, he's just a baller. Like you said, he's good at basketball. He rebounds occasionally. So I still like paying up for Franz Wagner. I think he has 50-point upside tonight, and I'm willing to take some stabs at him.
Yeah, if I'm playing Giannis, I'm more likely to run it back with Carter or Wagner. I'm curious. I just ran again. I ran optimals again with their update. Like I said, Frazier's minutes went up to 30. No surprise there. And Hampton's minutes went down to 30. He lost 2, but like still 30 might be a little ambitious. He might get to 27, 28. But so my very first number 1 optimal right now on DK, right?
Oh boy.
It is 5 Orlando Magic players. Number 2, 5 Orlando Magic players. 5, because they're so cheap, man. Frazier, Hampton, Gillespie, Carter, Harris. You can figure out the rest of the lineup on your own. It's like, yeah, it's
I get it.
That's where we're at right now.
For tournaments, what would you cap? What would you want to cap?
Probably 4.
Yeah.
Probably 4. I think you can, just because they're so cheap. And not only that, because the slate is so small. There's only, when it's an 11-game slate, there's so many routes that can beat you. So much goofy stuff can happen in each individual game, but there's only so many games going on.
Right.
You only need a couple things to be derailed. I don't know if 5 can get there, but maybe, but probably I'm going to cap it at 4. And on FanDuel, for the record, 4, then 3, then 3, then 3. And you know who else is and FanDuel, it's 3 Washington, 3 Washington, 3 Washington with 3 Orlando. Yeah, that's what we're looking at, man. We'll talk about Washington in a second, but
all right.
What else do you have to say about this game before we move on and talk about the rest of the slate? 1/3 down, I believe.
Wow, we're making good time. I don't really have anything
really
else
not.
here.
This is so funny.
Yeah,
I can hear Devin say, like, how is this taking so long?
I'm still willing to pay for Franz. I think I prefer him over Wendell Carter, but You got to have a lot of them in your player pool. It's disgusting. It's vomit, whatever you want to call it, but it has to be done. There's going to be a couple of Magic that get there tonight.
Give me the number. How many Magic players are in the optimal lineup and the winning, like the TPP winning lineups tonight? Like it can't be 0. I refuse to believe it's 0. How many guys? So what's the number? 2, maybe 3?
3.
2.5 is the over under. That's my question.
Good number. You can tell you do this quite often. I'm going with 3. I think 3 is a good number.
Let's talk about your Philadelphia 76ers. 222 is the total. Brooklyn is a favorite here by 5.5 points as far as who's in and who's out in this game. Every single one, it's not that big of a mess as far as Philadelphia. Green is still out. Drummond is off the protocols list. I assume that means he's playing tonight. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. Shake Milton is questionable. He had a health protocol issue as well. We're expecting Durant to come back tonight. He hasn't played in 2 weeks. We're expecting LaMarcus Aldridge to come back tonight. I'd be wary if he's not starting. We'll see. A couple other guys like David Duke Jr., he cleared it, but that's, they're irrelevant now that everybody else is back. Kyrie, of course, is not eligible to play at home just yet. All right, so more studs in this game. Joel Embiid, we have Harden, we have Durant. What are we projecting for Durant's minutes? Are we hitting him a little bit with not playing in a couple weeks? I mean, I wouldn't think it's like 20, but how ambitious are we as far as Durant's minutes? Are we giving him full minutes here?
Hold on.
I'm scrolling as well, too.
37.
Right out the gate. Okay. That seems like a big number. Maybe that's not my job, but somebody else is doing that. But that seems like a big number for somebody who hasn't played in 2 weeks. But maybe he's perfectly fine. And just, the health and protocol situation that just had him derailed and couldn't come back to play and all that. But okay, like if he's playing 37 minutes, I'm interested. Of course, with Harden being in the court, both being in the court, they kind of eat at each other to some extent. They both theoretically could get there, especially on a 3-game slate. Who do you prioritize over the other one, Durant or Harden? You got to pick one of the studs on Brooklyn.
I'm going Durant, and I like that Jamino in the squad, like that he's going to come back and be fine. I always side with Durant over Harden. If there's some unknown there, I'm willing to take the risk. Philly I don't know what data is, but just from watching them, unfortunately, frequently, they get crushed by wings. Tobias Harris is a god-awful defender. Durant's going to be able to do whatever he wants. I think Tybo.
Good thing you signed to a max contract then.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I love Elton Brand. So I think it's Durant, and I think he, with the absence of Jokic, I think it's safe to say two of my favorite studs are in this game tonight. I think it's Durant, and on the flip side, I think it's Embiid, who, if it wasn't for how good Jokic is, that Embiid would be getting all the big man touting, across the media industry.
So let's knock out Brooklyn, because I think it's a similar situation with Milwaukee, except these players just aren't as good. But it's the same situation of Durant being out, a bunch of guys having to be elevated in his absence. Now Durant is back, and Patty Mills is 7.2K. Like, get out of town. Like, there's no way I'm paying 7.2K for Patty Mills when James Harden and Kevin Durant are there. Like, it's not happening. There's no chance. Like, can he? I suppose. Not in my lineup. If you see Patty Mills put up 35 points tonight, I'm done. And by the way, 35 fantasy points, that doesn't even mean it's a lock. Like, it's a terrible price on Patty Mills. And that kind of speaks to the rest of the team as well, too. Like, LMA first came back, we said that heart issue. We retired because of a heart issue. Who knows what his deal is, but like 6.1K for LMA. And we've seen Claxton rise in his absence. They have a bunch of other bodies now. Like Bembry's going to, get maybe 15 to 25 minutes or something like that. They have Johnson, they have Brown, they have Cam Thomas. They have a lot of rotation guys. And, Nash likes to, mess around and use them. So outside of the two guys on Brooklyn, I think nobody appeals to me. Again, if you're running 150, if you want to get pinches here and there, I suppose you can. And maybe I'm just being a chalk donkey by saying this. Like large field tournaments, high money up top, whatever, sure, whatever. Have at it. But that's not for me. Tell me otherwise.
I can't tell you otherwise. You pretty much nailed it. 4,800 for Bruce Brown and whatever his role is. Bembry, James Johnson, Bruce Brown are the three multi-positional guys that Nash wants to use off the bench. And of course, Nick Claxton, but he's almost 5K. You just can't play him at 5K, especially with the anticipation of Aldridge returning. So you pretty much nailed it. I will say, though, that I don't mind a couple of shares of these super cheap guys if you're playing a bunch of lineups. I don't mind having a couple of James Johnson shares. Not going to project well. I don't mind, he's 3,600. I don't mind having a couple of Bembry shares. Again, not going to project well. But God forbid one of them have a ceiling game and drop like 25 to 30, set a build rule, maybe put no more than one of those cheap Brooklyn guys in your lineup. Then maybe there's your 2% difference maker and something cheap and large.
Talk to me about Philadelphia. You could talk about Embiid as well, like some of the cheapies in the slate. We'll talk about Gafford in a second. Mo Wagner's, center eligible on DK. You can even play Giannis on DK if you want to, as far as a center. How do you prioritize Embiid as a big spend down to 11K? What was it, like 12K the other day on DK, which was, good Lord, man, that's a lot of money. Yeah, as a whole, again, this Philadelphia team and all the optimal stuff is going to say that it's Orlando and studs and Washington pieces and Cleveland pieces, depending on what site. But this game as a whole is just not that interesting. You tell me otherwise. Embiid for sure. There is absolutely a ceiling. We're not sure about Milton. He is still questionable, but they still seem to have plenty of bodies, I suppose. Like Maxey at 5'6" on DK. Like, come on. Look, I can't. I don't think. Well, maybe I can. I'm not sure. But you tell me. What do you like in Philadelphia?
Not much. I like Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris is about at least $1,000 overpriced on DK, 8,800. Just like he has no ceiling. Seth Curry at 6K has no ceiling with, as long as most of these starters are intact. Korkmaz is back going to play, in the teams now too. I think Shake Milton does matter. His availability matters for Maxey. But I will say Maxey is just having trouble finding his way, coexisting from a fantasy point of view when Joel Embiid is healthy. If you toggle Maxey,
Shake Milton available to play.
Okay, so like Maxey's price is the friendliest for the upside we've seen, but most of his ceiling games have been without Joel Embiid, and you know that, and I know that. But you can walk into a 7 times game, 7x the price, against a team like Brooklyn. However, Brooklyn's actually been pretty good defensively. There's this narrative was following them for the early portion of the season, and their defensive efficiency has been much better than we saw towards the tail end of last season, even in the opening stages of 2021. So it's pretty much Embiid for me. Harris is too expensive. Seth Curry is too expensive. I like Maxey less with Milton active. I mean, it's a price thing. That's pretty much it. I mean, you can hit.
I'll say on FanDuel, by the way, Harris 8.8 on DK. I don't love that, but 7.4 for Harris on FanDuel is something I can work with.
I can work with that, but on DK, I'm out. I mean, we mentioned some of these Brooklyn guys that are overpriced and some of these Sixers guys in a similar situation with almost everybody healthy. Like, if you want to trim your player pool, it's some of these guys with no ceiling, like Tobias on DK and Seth Curry at 6K.
All right. Anything else in this game that's worth talking about, or shall we talk about? It's not a hammer, I guess. All three are going at the same time. We'll talk about Cleveland and Washington.
I don't think so. I guess we didn't really touch much on Harden. So, I mean, do you have a take on the KD Harden thing?
No. I feel a little better about Harden. Yeah. I mean, like whichever one fits my lineup, as far as, there are different positions, obviously. My first thought is that Orlando, a lot of the Orlando cheap stuff is at guard, right? So maybe it's a little bit trickier. I've not built any lineups for the record. So I'm just trying to figure this out loud because, Frazier and Hampton are both guards, and Harden is I think you could throw him. Yeah, you can throw them on the shooting guard on FanDuel. No, that doesn't really matter. As far as small forwards, Franz Wagner is one of the small forwards you can play out there. Yeah, just trying to think like lineup construction wise, which one makes more sense. But I feel a little better with Harden just because there's a little bit of uncertainty in my mind. I'm not fully confident Durant's going to play 37 minutes. We see him come back from injury, which is different. Remember he came back, he didn't start the game and entered in the middle of the second quarter or something like that. Like Nash does some weird things. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Just we've seen him do some things that are a little bit different. I just feel a little better about Harden. Yeah, for whatever it's worth. But I'll play both. Of course. Right. I'm not going to tell anybody. It's like I'm not going to tell anybody that Cooper Kupp is good at football. If you can get him in your lineup, by all means, get him in your lineup. Harden's good. If you can make him work in your lineup, you feel good about everything else. Get yourself some Harden. Do want to say what's up there, everybody on YouTube? What up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on notifications. We did mention earlier in the show, some of y'all just probably joined us in the middle. We're giving away a week free of RG Premium. How do you go about getting yourself 1 week free of RG Premium? You join the Discord. Discord is free. There are some premium channels. This is free. Just you don't have to be an RG Premium member, nothing like that. Rotogrinders.com/Discord. Hit up the live stream chat. Devin is compiling questions there, and you're going to, whatever y'all ask, we're going to do our best to knock them out, time permitting, which is something I did not expect to say. I'm sure Devin is cackling in the background, but he'll be joining the show later on, and we'll be knocking out those questions. Last game on the slate amongst the three. If y'all are joining us late, we lost Denver and Golden State. Cleveland, Washington, 211.5 is the total. Washington is a 5.5 point favorite. Beal is in, which is a big deal as far as the Washington side. As far as other pieces, we know Bertans is not going to play. Dinwiddie's out. No Montrezl Harrell. KCP expected to play. Howell Neto's out. Aaron Holiday is out. And I think that's all of them. Ricky Rubio tore his ACL. That's awful. Cleveland, one of the best stories on the season. Just been playing way over their heads, or maybe they're actually just kind of sneaky good. No Rubio, which means they're without no Rubio, no Garland, no Sexton, no guards, essentially. No good ones. Jared Allen is still out. Jetty Osman's still out. Windler is back. Stevens is back. Davis is back. Not that important, but there are some bodies on the Cleveland side. All right. So Bradley Beal is going to get a ton of usage. Yeah, I assume so. He's going to shoot a lot.
Yeah. This would be the worst squeaky wheel slate for him to finally have like that 60 bomb, right? We've been waiting for it all season. If he's really going to come, is he going to come back after protocols and take on this Cleveland team who is good defensively and slow? Granted, this isn't the same Cleveland team we saw a week and a half ago because you don't have Jared Allen, which is big.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley makes a big deal though. But they are, if you subscribe to some sites or have some tools or whatever we have, you take Mobley on and off the court, they are much better per 100 possessions with Mobley on the court. So that is a big deal. I'm just not going to Beal. I have a hard time believing that this is going to be the night, even without Dinwiddie, even without who else do we have? I don't even who are we missing here.
KCP is back, but there's no Montrezl Harrell.
There's no Montrezl Harrell. Yeah, which opens the door for Daniel Gafford, who's one of my favorite players on the slate. Career high in minutes last game, which is crazy. He just never gets the burn, and he's pretty handsy defensively. He's like the poorest man's Jaren Jackson because he just plays defense like this instead of, I'm 6'10", let's just do this and stay on the court. It's just, too much for these guys to figure out. So I do like Gafford, has blocks and steals upside. I'm not landing on Beal, stars and scrubs. I get it. If you want to be a little bit different, totally understand, but I'd rather see it before I buy into it.
Gafford, currently the highest projected home player on DK in this game, 33%, 5K. We're projecting 32 fantasy points. That is a pretty good return on your money. FanDuel specific, basically the same as far as Mobley. Mobley at 33%, Gafford at 33% on FanDuel. And, Kuzma, we're expecting more usage being thrown his way as far as the Washington side. He's looking at 31% on FanDuel. Beal at 29%. 8-3 on FanDuel is a pretty good price for Beal. A little bit tougher to make work at 10-1 on DK, but again, would not discourage that in tournaments because you have the salary, and you have the cheapies to make this stuff work. And Beal can certainly be the highest scoring player in this slate. It's not impossible that he outscores, both this does on Brooklyn and Embiid as well. That game blows out. Maybe all three of those guys he beats by 5, maybe. Sure, why not? Of course, there's Giannis as well lurking too, but for sure, I'm going to have some pieces there. We're projecting, this is kind of tricky. We're projecting a Pangos to draw the start there for Cleveland. I don't know if he's going to close. Kevin Pangos is their quote unquote point guard. Okoro might handle the ball some. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but Pangos, I don't think he's been good so far. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about him, but I did a little research when he's been bad, in the time he's been given. I'm not sure if he's going to be their ball handler again. They're without all their point guards, basically. How do you think that situation is going to go? I think Okoro is a guy that can step up and shine. He's one of my favorite cheapies on the entire slate. Do you agree with that?
I do, for the most part. I like Okoro. He's had a couple of moments, as you would say, this season, finally. Last year he was getting 35 to 40 minutes and scoring 6 real points. So he's in all seriousness, he is developing as a player, and we're starting to see some of that. Kevin Pangos, Gonzaga, there we go. I don't know what he offers.
The Zags represent.
Yeah, man. I think the real GPP ticket here is Kevin Love, who's been phenomenal this season. The question is, how many minutes is he going to play? But I can tell you this. We don't have data with all the guards off the court. But if you go on court IQ and you take Garland and Sexton and Jarrett Allen off, you do get 130 minutes of Kevin Love.
I ran it.
Oh, it's disgusting, right? It's like Minnesota Kevin Love is back. 1.53 DK points per minute. Gross stuff here. I'm going overweight on Kevin Love. If it kills me, I've blown money on a lot worse in my life. But I think Kevin Love is so interesting. But the big thing, I think Mobley came back last game, Dean, right? And there were times where they overlapped and ran on the court together. So they were running 1 at the 5, 1 at the 4, and I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work between both because they're both bigs and sometimes bigs don't coexist. But Kevin Love has some of that Euro role and he's able to space the floor, as is Mobley. So they don't really have a choice either. I mean, you have those two and you have Mark Cannon, who are all big dudes. But they're making it work. And the fact that Kevin Love's able to find court time with Mobley, I think, is a big deal.
He played 32 minutes last game. And like on the season with everybody on, with all the minutes he's played, he's like 1.35 fantasy points per minute. Like, that's awesome. That's like superstar level. Like, that's really, really good. Like, and people coming in the season, including myself, like I was wrong on Love. He's been fabulous. I'm like, how are they going to try to dump that contract? Cleveland's going to be terrible. They want to get rid of that contract in some way. And like, that's not necessarily where they're at right now. Like, well, obviously the hit to Rubio hurts them a good degree, but yeah, man, Love is super interesting as well. Mobley, I totally agree. I think he's awesome. Like, he's given the rookie of the year now. Hopefully we may have some financial interest in that as well. Kevin Love, can he get comeback player of the year? Did he even play last year? I'm trying to think. I feel like he didn't. I could be wrong. If he did, it was minimal. Yeah, jump over to the other side as far as the Washington pieces. Who else kind of interests you, if anybody? Like Dean Wade on Cleveland is somebody that should eat some minutes, but he's never a fun roster. You talk about ceilings. Like, what is Dean Wade ceiling? 30 if everything goes his way. Denny Avdias and grab some minutes as well too for Washington with some of their pieces being missing. His price has been hiked up a little bit, but I think he's still fine. He's in the player pool. Kispert's another guy, like, he's 3-point reliant. He's super cheap. If he can get going from 3, sure, he's interesting. If not, he's poor man's Duncan Robinson, essentially. I suppose that's one way to phrase that. Markkanen should play 30 minutes or so, but he's kind of sort of priced where he basically should be. Who else do you have that's appealing as far as this game?
Not a lot on the Washington side. And I think Beal back complicates things. Of course, the highest usage guy on the team and, top 10 to 15 usage guy in the league last season. We're not exactly getting that this season. Maybe tonight's the night. I totally get it. For what it's worth, FanDuel has a scoring prop at 26.5. And there's no number on Kevin Love on FanDuel. I really wanted to see what it was because I'm interested. I wonder if it's on Prize Picks. I'm curious, and I haven't looked, but that's something to take a look at for Kevin Love. But I think Gafford's in the best situation now. Beal back. I mean, Gafford's not like an alpha offensive player. He's going to clean up in the paint. He's going to grab some boards and do some of the dirty stuff. So Beal coming back to me doesn't really affect Gafford. I think Gafford is one of the top plays on the slate and, has 40 plus point upside if he can stay out of foul trouble and play like this instead of this.
My optimals I ran, we'll bring Devin on in a second. Devin's got some questions for y'all. And Devin, I think we can stay. It's just so wild. Devin, you tell me if you can or cannot. I think crunch time got moved back 10 minutes because they're only going to go on for a half hour because it's such a short slate. And myself and Justin have rambled about all sorts of nonsense. We covered the slate.
They said it couldn't be done. A full hour on 3 games.
If there are some questions, we can stay a few extra minutes. Devin, can you make that executive decision? Is that possible?
Yeah, we got ourselves maybe 5-7 minutes here.
Okay, cool. Just in case we needed it. And I just wanted to fire this out for the people as far as the optimals I ran. The players that hit the optimal max, my cap on DK, no more than 70%. James Harden, Wagner, Gafford, Hampton, and Embiid. So it's the cheap Orlando and Washington stuff. Well, cheap and Orlando stuff with a couple studs is kind of the chalk build. FanDuel as well, if y'all want to know, if you're curious, the 70%ers are, man, there's like 6 or 7 of them. Good Lord. This might be an actual lineup. Wait. Oh no, I still have Steph Curry in there. Forget that. Don't play Steph Curry tonight. I thought I X'd him out. I got to refresh and get him out of the player pool. Anyways, I'll do that on the fly. What's up, Devin? You have questions for us?
I do have questions. What's up, Dean? Hello again. Hello, Luch. Good to see you both. Hope you all had a lovely hour here talking about this 3-gamer.
Yeah, did you fall asleep? Were you awake?
No, I had to actually run out the room for like 10 seconds, just like a couple of minutes ago, to grab some snacks. I went on a jog earlier for some coffee. I had an espresso, and I was like, I'm like jazzed up over here. I was like, I gotta get some food on my belly, so I went and scarfed some trail mix real quick, and I'm back. I'm ready to go, powered up.
You jogged out to get espresso? Is that what you said? You jogged back with it in your hand?
No.
Is there a, you have a cap?
No, we that's a distinctly slower pace on the way back for sure, because it's not easy to do jogging with a coffee in your hand.
Look at you humble bragging. You can jog?
Yeah,
I believe that's called yogging, if I'm not mistaken. Are you sure it's not yogging?
That's the official pronunciation. Yes, go for a yog.
Devin could jog. Put him in for 15 minutes. Get him in the player pool, because
there you go.
A bunch of teams that could easily.
You could have played for Denver tonight.
I'll take 3-8 on FanDuel. How about that?
That's fair.
Who's your player comp?
I don't even know.
Tony Snell?
So, yeah, who would be one of the worst in the league currently? Because we'll go in that umbrella. We got some questions though. We'll go ahead and knock these out. Flores Mark, friend of the show, DK Tournaments. Who would you feel more comfortable starting, Moritz Wagner or Gillespie?
Ooh, love these.
I think I feel better about Mo Wagner personally.
So do I. Yep, so do I.
All right, Carolina guy.
Even though I think Gillespie's starting, right? Gillespie's starting and Mo isn't, but I think Mo gets plenty of run. And I'm not 100% certain Gillespie is a closer. He might be, but I'm not 100% certain.
I'm not even 100% certain that's a real person, so.
I don't know. I need a proof of life.
Can I get a birth certificate? Carolina guy. FanDuel tournaments, large field with only 4 lineups. We can't be eating all this chalk, right? Pick some of the chalk that you're not all right with.
Justin, that's good. You tell me your least favorite chalk play. I'm gonna look at ownership and let's find
I'll pull up FanDuel,
our least favorite chalk play, because that's a good conversation to have.
Let me switch over to FanDuel too. Can you rattle off some of the highest projected guys for me?
Okay. Oh, you're looking at FanDuel. He has FanDuel specifically.
Yeah.
Devin?
Hampton's still at 46%, 43 for Harden, 40 for Embiid, 39 Franz Wagner, 38 Wendell Carter, and these are obviously subject to change.
I think center is going to be either Embiid or they're playing either Embiid at center or they're going to be playing Gafford, right? I assume that's you can play Carter at forward, right? Just trying to think position wise, and Mobley you can play forward as well.
I will say at 32%, I don't necessarily feel comfortable that Kyle Kuzma has the ceiling he did without Beal. So now that Beal's in at 6K, I'd be okay with not playing Kyle Kuzma now. I was thinking about him earlier without Beal, looking at his props, thinking about where he'll fit in ownership. But if he's going to carry 30%, he'd be out of the top 10, 12 guys. He'd be one of the first people I would be okay with excluding Kyle Kuzma.
I was going to say Gary Harris, but he's another one of those guys. I'm not sure how chalky he's going to be, but
I cackle, I laugh, I just chuckle. I love clicking the X button on Gary Harris. That's just.
Oh, you're with me in that.
I can't stand playing him.
I think Maxey at 66 on FanDuel is pushing it probably, Dean. That's a grand more than DraftKings. That's a pretty big price discrepancy. I don't know how I feel about Maxey at 25% at 66. Drew Holiday still carrying 20% at 95. I'd probably not play him either. I mean, what are your thoughts there with Drew Holiday at 90? I mean, this is no Giannis prices.
I gave him before, man. I'm probably not playing him. If Drew Holiday beats me this late, he beats me. So be it. That's not the plan. If you see in my lineup, that was me panicking at the last second. Holiday, I guess he fits. And it's 6:59.
We got a Corey Kispert, small forward on FanDuel at 27%.
Yeah,
he's cheap enough. He's 3-point reliant for the most part. Like you say, you don't get the bonus on DK. Cleveland doesn't play really fast. I don't love it, but I'm indifferent on Kispert. Completely 50-yard line, I think.
Oh, and Devin, you gotta give somebody a week free of. We're giving you this task. You gotta pick somebody at random or whatever name you like, a certain handle, however you want to do it. But
yeah,
I promise to give somebody something. So
we'll go ahead and announce that now. We got a new name showed up on today's show. Mufasaha, I believe, is the pronunciation. Right. So we'll get them a free week of combo for them. Got a couple of more questions though. Let's try and knock these out real quick. Flores Mark asks, DK tournaments, Mobley or Wendell, both 7K.
Ooh, I think it's Mobley.
I think it's Mobley's upside. Yeah.
Bigs versus Washington. Mark loves those. Eric wants to know DK tournaments. What's the game stack? Is it Orlando, Milwaukee?
Well, again, it's like Giannis in Milwaukee. I mean, I'm sorry, Giannis in Orlando. But I don't think I'm playing anybody outside of Giannis in Milwaukee. I think I made that pretty clear. I don't anticipate that happening. But I think a lot of people are doing the same thing.
I know it goes against some principles, but on this slate, I'm not sure there is going to be a game stack, right? Like, I'm not sure if there is, honestly. Like, we talked about the studs in the Philly Brooklyn game. It could be a close, uglier game, and Harden and Durant don't get there. Like, if they all go for like 50, I don't know. Like, who's going to go for 60? Could it be Bradley Beal? I mean, I'll eat my words. It could be Bradley Beal. Maybe this is, no one else is on the court. The usage guys are out. Harrell's out. It could be, but I'm personally just not going there. But you're right. Bradley Beal could be the highest scorer on the slate. Definitely. It's possible.
He's harder to fade on FanDuel, in my opinion. On DK, much easier to fade.
Agreed.
But the FanDuel price is really good, and some dudes are out. So
some dudes are out. I love it. It's like
he's willing to
only
jump.
some.
Yep.
Only some. Just a couple of more questions. Let's wrap these up. Running out of time here. Floor is Mark. DK Tournaments, Kuz or Franz Wagner? Who's crushing tonight?
What's up, Mark? It's Wagner. Let's go. Jump on the Wagner train. That's my take.
It's all about Franz Ferdinand.
I was going to make that reference. Dean, get out of my head. DK Tournaments, here's a
Take me out.
Embiid and one of the net studs, or both net studs and no Embiid.
Was that
Yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to pick one of those two paths. Either if you're playing Embiid, I feel like you're supposed to probably run him back with either Harden or Durant. Do you agree with that thought process? If you're not playing Embiid, I mean, you certainly can play, but there's only so many options you can do. But I feel like if I'm playing Embiid, I want to run it back with one of Durant or Harden as a general thought.
I think so. But Devin, was the question, do you want to pair both Brooklyn studs together? Was that the question? That
was the alternate. The first one was Embiid plus one of the Brooklyn studs, or no Embiid, both Brooklyn studs.
I mean, I guess there's a path on this dumpster of a slate where like maybe this is the anomaly where it could happen where blocks and steals, Harden and Durant, go for 55 each, which won't happen often, especially with everybody back. I don't like it though. That just kind of goes against my morals to pair Harden and Durant together.
It does feel like that will not be popular though.
I don't like that. No. I don't like that, but that doesn't mean it can't get there. But right.
On this slate is terrible.
Right, and this conversation of us saying no, you wouldn't do that. That does make me think that could be unique on tonight's slate, right?
Right, it could be unique. It just
some people that make 150, people put in rules. Not to cut you off, I just want to say, people will put in rules. They'll say don't play more than one of Harden and Durant. People do that when they're running 150.
Right.
So they're knocking themselves out of that if they both put up 60. This game goes overtime.
Some people 3-game slate, you got to have both of them if they both go off.
Right, and on a 13-game slate, though, there's probably 30 guys that could go for 50, right? And
correct.
Tonight, there's 8, maybe. So that might be generous. I don't know. So it's possible.
That's why game stacks are more appealing than the less games are actually on the slate. They make it a little bit more interesting.
Man, I can't wait for baseball.
Less things can catch you.
Just thinking about 5-2 stacks.
It's a good conversation. I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to make some lineups and I'm going to try my best. Hopefully we win some American dollars tonight. Devin, what was the name of the dude? Is that person going to contact
they
you?
I've already got him in Discord. Yeah, we're communicating awesome. In Discord. And we'll actually end on their the newly minted Discord winners question for tournaments. Valentine has to be in consideration, right? With no Rubio, Garland, or Sexton.
I think that's a great tournament play, and my bad for not mentioning him, but he's somebody that
Shame
I
on
ranked
you,
earlier today. Well, yeah, I mean, but he's not projected to be amazing, but he's 3-3 in DK, and there's certainly a path where he plays 25 minutes and puts up 27 fantasy points at 3-3 and is really useful. That's possible. Not likely, but a scenario, because again, he's a guard that can handle the ball. He's competent, and they don't have much of that right now in Cleveland. Your thoughts there, Luch?
I totally agree. I was actually going to circle back to him, and I forgot. So I'm glad. Thanks for bringing him back up. I think Valentine should be in the player pool for sure.
Discord's killing me with these gifts. We're out of time, Dean. You want to go ahead and take us home?
We did an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes. We came on 5 minutes late.
We're at 1:12 right now, Dean, on my time code.
Come on, man. Quantity versus quality, I suppose, is the argument, if you want to make that. Do hit that like button on the old Twitter. We do appreciate y'all enjoy, jumping in. We're going to run that soon enough. We're not going to do it every day as far as giving away RG Premium, but we're going to do it at least once, maybe twice a week. We want to encourage people and encourage conversation in the Discord. And we should mention there's other free channels as well, too, like Chiefs Prop Shop, which is hopping. There's piles and piles of people there talking, having a conversation, completely ignoring us in the live show. I have no idea this is going on. But, lots of conversations. If you want to talk to other people about daily fantasy, by all means, jump in the RG premium channels or the free channels as well. Producer Devin, thank you for producing the show. Thank you for letting us go along. You guys are premium members, of course. You know crunch time's coming up in about 9 minutes or so. Got bumped back 10 minutes. What's up, Devin? You want to say something? Or somebody want to say something?
No, I was just making a noise. I was throwing up peace symbols as we got out. So, but now it's ruined because I had to. No, it's ruined because I had to explain it. So it's great. Let's just go.
Fair enough. We're out of here. We gotta go. There you go. That was Luch. That was Devin. That was basketball. Good luck tonight. Everyone take something down. Enjoy. Holler.